Quinn with time. Uncorks it. Ashton Hawkins shakes and scores.
This is the Sikkim 365 radio postgame show.
Second and long scenario. Pete drops back. Doesn't have much time. Garmin Randolph makes quick work of him.
Now here's David Smoak.
Well, good afternoon. We are live at our studio about a mile or two down, MLK, just a little bit west of McLean Stadium, where BYU dominated Baylor early and then held on. And a Sawyer Robertson interception at the end of the game seals the win, where Baylor had gotten to within 6, could have had a chance to win the game. And what they did last week, if you're a Baylor fan, they ripped your heart out because of the failed Hail Mary defense and then overtime. Today they did the opposite. They were down, dead, buried. And I got to tell you, I thought this was it now. I thought that this was the dagger. And I don't know, it still might be when it comes to Dave Aranda. And not because the game ended up very close, because it ended up being very, very close. Baylor showed quite a bit to get back in it, but you should never get down the way you were in the first place. A home game against a nationally ranked team. Dave Aranda, remember, said this week, start fast. That's the last thing they did. Baylor loses to BYU to drop to what, 2-3 overall? 0-2 in the conference, 34-28 the final. Sawyer Robertson was slinging it all over the place. Ended up throwing, I think, nearly 50 passes tonight. But I'll tell you what, Retzloff, the quarterback at BYU, is really, really good. And then I noticed, even when they were up a couple of scores, he started to get a little bit wobbly with his fundamentals and a little bit maybe careless with the football. And that came back to haunt them because Baylor got another pick near the end of the game, had a chance just on their side of the 50 to maybe pull off what would have been a miracle, considering where they were at one particular time. Baylor loses 34-28. Garrett Ross is here in the studio with me. We would love to get your feedback on the game, on specifics, on what does this do for Baylor football? What does this mean for Dave Aranda? If I would have asked you that question when it was in the first half, especially when the start, BYU just jumped all into Baylor's business. I would say 99 out of 100, if we took that many calls, would say that Aranda's gone. Does how the game ended in any way? I'm asking you, this is not my opinion. I'm asking you, does how the game ended or how Baylor came back and what they did down as much as they were change your mind of where you were or what you thought of Dave Aranda and Baylor in the first quarter or two? Now, here's what we can do, and we will hear from Trevon Mai, defensive lineman for Baylor, a little bit later on in this postgame show on 365 Sports. But if you want to get in and get a comment in or make a statement or ask a question or all of the above, Garrett, tell everybody exactly what they need to be able to do to be able to get inside of what is, you lock yourself in, Garrett sees you, we get you on, and when you hear me, then you can go ahead and go.
Yeah, so I posted the link on the Sikkim 365 page in the forums. Go and follow that link, click on it, and it'll take you to this page. When you come in, make sure that your camera is on where I can see you, and make sure if you have ear pods in, those are connected. Make sure your sound is right. I have 3 people in right now with no cameras up. I need your cameras on so I know that you are ready to roll.
Yeah, even if you're in a car or you're in traffic or you're sitting at home, wherever you might be, but we need to be able to see you. Once we see you, we lock you in, we get you in. Garrett did put that link up on StreamYard through what we're doing here on 365 Sports. In the end, and stats for a game like this, I don't know. I mean, do they matter? Do stats in a game like this matter? Sawyer Robertson, 324 yards, but also threw 2 picks. Retzloff had 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Robertson threw 3 touchdowns. In the overall category, both teams were sloppy with the football. Turnovers in this game, both had 2. Penalties in this game, somewhat okay. Each team, BYU had 4 penalties, 50 yards, 6 for 45 for Baylor, and I still cannot stand pre-snap penalties. Baylor ended up with 20 more yards of total offense. A lot of that was the craziness in the second half, getting the ball up and down the field. Baylor did not run the ball. They didn't run the ball, and when you get down like they were, then the run game really doesn't do much. Although in 2014, the Baylor-TCU game, that's how Baylor came back in that crazy game to win against TCU. 151 yards rushing for BYU. There were some critical moments in special teams. BYU hit a 54-yard field goal near the end of the first half. Baylor had a 51-yard field goal. Hankins, who missed that critical kick last week in Boulder, came up at least 5 to 7 yards short. That's the difference between 31-21 or 31-17, or 31-17 rather than 31-14 at halftime. There was a fake punt for BYU when there was nobody to stop the punter. They had it called. You could tell. I was asked on Twitter, is there a chance that was just they saw something? No, you could tell because they even had somebody lead the way on a critical fake punt. And then BYU, once they started letting this thing slip away, they get a 70-yard punt from their 27 to the Baylor 3, down to the 3, a 70-yard punt. Baylor eventually moves it a little bit like they did at the end of the game, but it was not enough for anything to happen. Retzloff not only threw for 216 and then 2 touchdowns, he also ran for a touchdown and 53 yards. Lassiter, 8 catches, 120 yards and a score for BYU, and Cameron had a nice game. Josh Cameron, 7 catches, 125 yards and 2 scores. If you are in the link, if you're watching us and you're in, you want to talk, we want to hear from you, but you have to get Garrett one more time, tell everybody, because we struggle with this every week and I don't know why.
When you come in, make sure your camera is on so that I can see you, and then I will pop you up and you can ask a question to Smokey. If your camera is not on or your mic isn't connected, like Kyle right here, it says device is not connected, I cannot get you through.
Kyle, do you hear that? Kyle, do you hear that? 34-28, BYU beats Baylor. That's the final score. And BYU now 5-0 in the year. And you could almost see them start to wear down in this game, mainly because it just was a game that took forever. Started at 11, just ended about 15 or 20 minutes ago. It just seemed like it was never going to end with the replays and the lots of scoring, a lot of craziness going on. And you know how I am about the replays. I am tired of it, and maybe it's everybody else too. When you're watching the game at home, you could get up, you can go get yourself something to eat, get a drink, go pee, whatever, just breathe. But when you're in the stadium, the replays are they're numbing to me. They are numbing.
Let's try Kyle.
Kyle, we're going to go to you first, see if you're ready. Kyle, thanks for your call and your time. Good afternoon on 365 Sports. What's up? Here we go.
Smoak, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Go ahead, Kyle. Thanks for the call. Go.
I can barely hear you.
Yeah, you
Smoak,
just
listen,
talk.
I'm a fan.
Okay. Garrett, he's there.
He hit a dead spot driving.
Kyle, are you there? See if you can log back in and get to us. I heard he was about to say, look, I'm a fan, and then we lost you, Kyle. So if you can, get back in the show. Again, this is 365 Sports. Postgame, we'll have Trevon Mai, defensive lineman for Baylor, trying to get back with us at some point in the postgame. Garrett, anything new?
Let's try D here.
D, good afternoon. Thanks for your call on 365 Sports. Go ahead.
They got theirs muted.
Your phone is muted or your camera is muted. Okay. I know there's a lot of reaction. I know there's a lot of people want to talk. They want to say something. They want to find a way to vent a little bit. Maybe get some of this out of your system a little bit. We're trying. We want you on this show. That's why we're here. We come here to do the post game to get your reaction and some of your opinions and even your questions too. Anything?
Matthew Anderson, your device is not connected. Try again.
Matthew Anderson, your device is not connected. If you wouldn't mind trying again. There you go. Now? Nope. Device is not protected. There's a couple of things I'd like to look at here. BYU was held to like less than 100 yards in the second half. But I want to say this, and when it was whatever the score jumped out early on when BYU was scoring almost at will. I said this early in the postgame. Dave Aranda said start fast, energy on the sideline, whatever. They were down 21-0 with 3 minutes and 39 seconds to go in the first quarter. What the hell is that? 28-7 with 9:30 to go at halftime. Somewhat manageable 31-14 at halftime. You're at home against a top 25 team. BYU came out and bloodied you, punched you in the face. You weren't ready. There were players who didn't play for whatever reason. Cole Barber was putting up some notes on his Twitter feed and also in the forums, whether there are suspensions or not. I asked Baylor, were there a number of players, whether a number for me is anywhere between 2, 5, 7, 8, were players suspended for the game and or the half? And I was told that would be a Dave Aranda question in the postgame. So hopefully somebody's going to ask that question in the postgame. Because if I was there, that would be my first question. It wouldn't be about 28-7. It wouldn't be about Dave Aranda's future. It would be about where was everybody? What happened? When did it happen? Who's accountable? What are the consequences? The consequences that you had players who didn't play today. And this is they're not good enough. Baylor's not good enough to not have some of their frontline players playing today. I get it, college kids and all that. But you know what? You're not good enough. This is big boy football. And especially when you are getting a scholarship and now you're getting NIL money and you can't act right, whatever it was it missing meetings? Was it something else? We will find that out, and we'll try to get that information when we possibly can. Garrett?
Kyle, let's try Kyle one more. Hold on. Let's try Kyle one more time.
Kyle, go ahead.
Hey, Smoak, do you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, I can.
Great. I'm a big fan of yours, not a fan of Dave Aranda's. How many times do we have to see a start like that? 21-0 in the first quarter. I don't think BYU has won an 11 o'clock game. They came out and just kicked our butts from the beginning. I don't want to hear about the care factor. I don't want to hear about how guys played hard at the end. Dave Aranda has no identity with this team. And why I'm a fan of yours, I know you're a big fan of Jeff Traylor's got a nephew out there. I hear his press conference. I hear the way he speaks. There's a command, there's a general there, and Dave Aranda has not had that yet. And that's part of the problem at Baylor. We have no identity. We have no culture. Matt Rule came in and developed a culture that was there. Dave Aranda has tore it down. I think everybody has seen enough. Dave Aranda is a great defensive coordinator. We give him that. He's been learning on the job at Baylor, and he can't get it done. We're paying Dave too much money. We're paying the players too much money. We just can't execute. And I don't want to hear a Dave Aranda press conference. Can't listen to it anymore, Smoak.
All right, Kyle, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I agree with you.
Can.
I agree with maybe 100% of what you said. I don't want to hear about how they showed guts battling back.
Yeah.
You cannot come home against a ranked team and be down 21-0, 28-7, and then maybe flirt and tease everybody with, yes, an incredible effort in the second half, but why would you have to put yourself in that position anyway? I don't know the future. At one point when it was 21-0, I'm not so sure that it wasn't over. I'm talking Mac Rhodes' tech messages. I'd love to have read every one of them if I could, from alums and boosters and admins or whatever. I agree with you across the board. I do know that whatever they do, that Jeff Traylor or even a couple of other names, maybe it's SMU's Rhett Lashley, maybe it's Traylor, maybe it's someone else, will absolutely, if in fact it gets to that point, they will, and they should, and they better make sure that they contact those people, those particular type of candidates. If it gets to a coaching search, I don't know about that. Kyle, great way to start the show. Glad we got you back. You mentioned BYU in the morning, 2-12. 2-12 in their last 14 games that started at 11 a.m. Now they're 3-12. Craig even said, you know who's going to get 3? Probably BYU. Garrett.
Swoop, you're up.
Swoop, good afternoon. Thanks for your time with Smokey and Garrett on 365 Sports.
He just dropped. Swoop just dropped. Hold on. We're good.
All right, that's okay.
Brian, coming to you, Brian.
Brian, you're next. Good afternoon, Brian. Go.
Hey, guys. Oh, man, that's a gut wrencher. And I've just so many gut wrenchers. And when you look at the future, you're like, man, I don't even know we can get to 4 wins this year. It's just, I don't know. I'm very deflated.
What's more frustrating, Brian, if you can hear me, today or last week against Colorado at the end?
Oh, last week, and I feel that probably affected the first half of this game, or the first quarter, because we just looked really bad on defense. Yeah, I think if we win last week, this game probably would have been a lot different. At least I hope so.
Is there anything Dave Aranda and this team can do down the stretch for him to come back next year?
Yeah, I mean, if you go into Ames and you win and you actually like get 6-6 after starting, what, we're 2-3, 2-4, no, 2-3, or better. I think you can. But boy, you have to, I don't know. It has to be better than this. This is just, it's excruciating.
I bet it is. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate the call. Appreciate your feedback, and also really do appreciate you taking the time to be a part of it. Garrett?
Let's try Pam.
Pam,
Yeah.
you're next. Good afternoon with Smokey on 365 Sports. Thanks for your call.
All right, Pam just dropped out.
Dropped out? We got a bunch of you in the what do you call, whatever that little portal is. So
All right, let's try Nova.
Nova, you're next on 365 Sports. Nova, go.
All right, guys. I don't really have much to say except that I can't believe we're still hanging on to this guy after all this time. We've seen this kind of performance from coaches all over the country a million times, and the story is not going to get better. It's just we're fooling ourselves.
Is there anything, Nova, he can do? I just asked that to Brian as a follow-up. Is there anything? First of all, I don't expect him to be able to go into Ames and beat Iowa State, because Iowa State doesn't beat themselves. BYU tried to kind of throw up on themselves a little bit in the second half. Is there anything other than the unthinkable of all of a sudden getting on a run that would save his job?
It would have to be a run. It would have to be the unthinkable. But, I mean, I know people hate to say it, but if you remember the game where early in the Bryles years when we had RG3 have a great run against, I think it was Washington State after a massive rain delay, everyone knew, wow, this team is for real. This QB is for real. We knew even though we lost. And those days are over. I just don't see that. There's no hope. There's no hope.
How much does Sawyer Robertson give you any hope, if enough, not so much to lead this team and carry it on his back, but is he the right guy right now?
He's the kind of guy that could win at a place that's well coached and has a vision for how they want to play, like BYU does. But we have no vision for how we want to play. We don't have any sort of plan. It's just kind of like throw a dart at the board, and that's the offensive play we're going to run. That's the defensive call we're going to run. I just don't see a vision. We don't have a plan.
Nova, thanks for your time. Their dog is wanting attention, but we appreciate you giving us attention. Garrett.
Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier, my friend. Joe, good afternoon on 365 Sports. Baylor loses back-to-back games to start the Big 12. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Smokey, you know how I am. I mean, I'm a huge fan, but I'm also a realist when it comes to sports. You, Paul, and Garrett, you guys know how I call it. I don't take the homer route very often, and I'm not going to take it this time either. And I've been a big Aranda fan and saying, hey, give it time. But I'm even almost to the point where, hey, how much more time can we give this guy? Because we not only can we not start a game fast, we can't finish a game either. We showed it last week, we couldn't finish, and we showed this week, hey, we still can't finish. Everything in between, okay, yeah, great. I'm along with the other callers saying, hey, got it. We don't want to hear about, hey, how we came back. We should have never been in that hole to come back. And I really feel like from what I've seen with my own two eyes, we don't warm up in the game properly prior to start. We're going through the motions. We're doing our stuff. I mean, I'm watching other schools come in when I was on the sidelines, and they were actually getting after it. I mean, they're practically lifting weights on the sideline in some cases. I mean, they've got bands out. They've got this out. They're really getting loose and really working up a sweat, where Baylor's just kind of going through the motion.
Joe,
and it's just, I don't understand.
Well, I think a lot of people feel exactly the way. By the way, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Always great to have you. Joe's been with us since back when we were well before doing this podcast, which, of course, has gone coast to coast on 365 Sports. Couple of notes, Twitter. I know we have people on hold. The Bears just aren't well coached. From Keegs. Should have been way bigger win. Took our foot off the gas. Nearly handed the win to Baylor. This is from a BYU fan. But we're 5-0. Matched the season total. Win total from last year. begging for a 4 quarters from this team. Need it bad next week from JDH. Sam, same exact script as always. Poor preparation, coaching, execution. Baylor tying their own shoes together every week. Irrelevant now in the Big 12. Reaction from RJ, we can never win a big game. There's some memes with a roller coaster. 8th, think about this. This is deadly. 8th consecutive loss Big 12 game at home. Oof. 8 consecutive Big 12 losses at home. Garrett, anybody else?
Let's try CP.
CP, good afternoon. Smokey and Garrett on 365 Sports. BYU sends Baylor to back-to-back losses.
All right, they're not going to do it. Let's try Bear Force.
Bear Force, thanks for your call. Bear Force, thanks for your time. This is Smokey. Go ahead. All right, everybody, you're in queue. You have to be ready to go. We had about 8 or 9 of you up. Let's try one more, Garrett. Is that right?
Let's try Austin.
Austin, good afternoon. We're in Waco.
He just dropped out.
And he dropped out. Now we got a bunch of others. Again, this is 365 Sports. We'll reset a little bit here. Baylor loses back-to-back games. They're 2-3, 0-2 in the conference. Technically, they lost to Utah, but that was not a conference game. So they've lost 3 games at Utah, at Colorado. That was the gut-wrenching kick in the nuts. And today, the opposite. They're the team that tried to come back and had an opportunity to. But when they had that opportunity in their last 2 drives to try to win the game down 6, they couldn't do it. So last week they had the lead, and they just ripped your heart out if you're a Baylor fan. This week they were getting blown out. They get back in it, and they still rip your heart out because they had the pick by, was it Noel? At the end of the game.
Yeah, Linus Noel.
Linus Noel, a pick, but they could not finish the game. A couple of more notes in the Twitter feed. Smokey, I've supported Dave all year. This is from Ryan, but we threw away the first half of the Utah game, first half of Air Force, end of the Colorado game, and the first half of this one. He can't get his team to play a complete game. We need to rip off the Band-Aid because it's not going to get any better. Norshad, this is not the basketball player, but somebody else with his name. I don't know if anything else needs to be pointed out. Prove it's just not working. From Xavier, sick and tired of one-possession losses brought on by no fight in the first half. Do we have Trevon?
We have Trevon.
Trevon Mai with us. Trevon Mai with us, Baylor defensive lineman. Trevon, I guess, thanks for your time, first of all. I know it's difficult. What is more frustrating to you, the way this game ended or the way the game last week in Boulder ended?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I appreciate you guys' time and wanting to talk to me. It means a lot. And, honestly, they both sting really badly. I think there were spots where, we could have had them and spots where we put ourselves in bad positions. But overall, it both hurt really, really bad.
Trevon, I know this is a direct question, but why did today start so slowly for you guys?
I'm not too sure. I think we didn't do a good job of throwing the first punch. And in the beginning, we weren't playing complimentary ball. And all that boils down to was a lack of focus and execution for whatever reason. But that's what I think.
Trevon, you as a team down, of course, at halftime, 31-14, 21-0, 28-7, all of that. What changed in the second half? Did BYU let the door open? Did you guys kick part of it down? What changed in the second half?
We came together. The team really believed in going into the game. I don't think they were a better team. Much respect to them. They're a tough opponent, but I believe that we were the better team and we beat ourselves.
How frustrated are you right now? How frustrated? What was the locker like other than disappointed? Can you kind of give us an insight of what's happening inside that locker room?
It's not fun. Coming off of last year, it's painful memories, but I think we're in a better spot this year. The team has more fight, and people want to win. So bittersweet. Because I was this after rest today, see the film Sunday, Monday. It's on to the next. Have to tell the truth Monday.
As a player, how long does it take to clear either last week or any game, whether you win or not? How long do you – I know you got that 24-hour rule, whatever, but for you personally, how difficult is it to clear it?
I take a lot of things to heart personally, so it's very hard. But after that, like you said, that 24-hour rule, and then we watch the film. I have to tell the truth Monday. It's on to the next. So you kind of have no choice. I think it's bad if you go past that and keep dwelling on it. Definitely use it for motivation, but you can't change the past.
Obviously, down, like I said, 21 and 28-7, that this looks like a team that could have just said, screw it, it's over, give up, right? Quit on your coach, quit on the team. How come you weren't? How were you able to not or how were you able to avoid that? And what does that say that you at least battled back to where you were?
Oh, it speaks a lot on the team and the growth we've had from last year compared to this year. Myself included. I hate losing. I'm a sore loser, poor sport about it. But at the end of the day, I just want to make the coaches proud, and win or lose, I try to do my job and control what I can control. And that's what.
Yep, go ahead.
That's what the D-line. Sorry, that's what the D-line did. I believe we just tried our best to control what we could control.
And Elias with that. How about Elias with a pick that gave you yet one more chance? How can you, if you are talking to Baylor fans, and you don't have to, but you know that they're disappointed too. You're the one that plays the game. The win-loss record is on you, the program, and the coach. What do you tell Baylor fans right now that have to be just really frustrated?
Well, just want to say appreciate the constant support, the people that stayed. Means a lot. A lot of people could leave with us being down the whole game, but people stayed, and just appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. We're working hard, and everybody's fighting through it.
Trevon, great time with you. Appreciate your time. I know you're disappointed. We appreciate your time on 365 Sports. Go get through the rest of the day, and we'll talk to you again next week, and good luck at Ames next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
This is Trevon Mai. And the guy, by the way, he went to Bishop Gorman High School in Vegas. They didn't lose much.
Nope.
So this has got to be just eating away at him. Or if you played for a team that lost a lot. So you have what happened at the end of last week against Colorado, and look like that there's a chance you don't erase that, but you have a chance to pull the trigger and go the opposite way. Twice so you have the ball when you're down 6 after a pretty damn impressive comeback. Why wait so late? And then when you still had a couple of chances, you couldn't quite get it done. Garrett Ross is running. This is the 365 post-game report. This is from Robert Smoaky. Bull in the ring drill before every game until they learn how to wake up for the first quarter.
That's one way to do it.
I'll say, I got to tell you this. Nebraska with Matt Rule, he did that. Some people thought it was crazy. Some people thought it was pretty good. But you know what he did? He did that today for their game against Purdue. They ended up winning 28-10. It damn sure didn't help them get off to a good start because they had like 5 possessions inside the Purdue 30 and came away with 3 field goals, 2 of them blocked, and had no points at halftime. But, Dr. Maxey, I do appreciate the feedback from you. From Brian, same old story. Slow start, sense of urgency kicks in, then takes the foot off the gas at the end. Aranda should just agree to be the defensive coordinator, and let's find the new coach. From Daniel, absolutely can't expect to dig out of a 21-point hole. From Ham Waggerty, I hope I get that right. I know the slow start sucks, but unlike a year ago, I'm willing to be patient with Aranda. Change doesn't happen overnight. The fact he has brought in a new OC, Jake Spavital, players starting to click a little bit, like next year, is what I truly think will be a greater indicator. From Volume Bear, I don't think it's just coaching. The players don't come out with any fight. You see the trend towards a lot of the starts, whether it's the coaching or play. Seems like the only way they ever know how to fight is when they get down 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. Place some blame on the coaches, but the players have to want that too. 365 Sports. Garrett Ross. Anybody else, Garrett?
Nope.
All right. From David. Desperately want the talent to have a new coach to see if they can perform for him. From Mama Bear. This wasn't even the same team as last week, literally and figuratively. Now, figuratively, I'm not in the postgame. I'm going to text Craig and find out if anything was brought up. Why were players missing today? Colt Barber had that note, I think on Twitter for sure, but also in the forums. Why were players not available today, whether it was the first half or today at all? Because I said this at the beginning, and I brought that up at the beginning. They're not good enough to not have their full contingent of people. Now, you have attrition. Injuries are going to happen. They're not good enough to feel like they can just go whatever happened. I don't know what happened, but some players didn't play today. Did that create this funk at the start of the game? You don't think everyone knew that maybe 3 or 4 days ago or whenever that? Was it last night? Was it Tuesday? Was it on the way back from Boulder? What happened? We got to figure that out. From Bumpkin, borderline is too generous. They are flat irrelevant in a conference that itself is below average. That should tell you all you need to know. From Kirk, when does basketball season start? Of course, they had the schedule come out earlier this week. Sal wants to get rid of Dave Aranda. Osu Wise, y'all did well. Confidence is brimming for you guys. He's talking to BYU. Prove the so-called experts wrong until we meet in Salt Lake City. That's a BYU fan and a Utah fan. From Smackin', let's see. From Fire Dave Aranda, this is a Twitter from Baylor Bain. Year 5 is on the head coach, player energy, result of practice and conditioning. Chris, the answer's Gary Patterson. Proven winner, motivator, recruiter, great record, 11-6 in bowl games. Where is he? How long has he been out as a head coach? Gary Patterson's a fiery guy, did a great job at TCU, but even as good as he did at TCU, they didn't want him anymore because they got tired of the drama. Am I right? And then he was at Texas, and then he was here at Baylor, and then walks away. And was it because that they didn't click Dave Aranda, and then he went back to a practice? I'm asking. And my other question is this. Is he the answer? Was that why he left? Because he thought maybe later in the year this thing might open up? Was that it? But he was a legend at TCU, and they let him walk away. From Robert, we can't play the second half of a game. We can't play the second half of a game only. It feels like we never get started until halftime. From Rich Boone, feels like nothing has changed since 2022. Remember, they had the best year ever. Beat Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Everything was freaking great. And then you had the nice start. You had wins in Lubbock. You had wins in Norman. Back-to-back wins on the road. And since that game, when they won in Lubbock, or games when they won in Norman, they have blown a tire. It's got to be, and I'm not a Baylor fan. I'm not an alum. I cover them. We do. That's what we do here. I know a lot of you are. Most of you on 365 Sports, as far as the message board. That's why you're on it. You want to get some information. Garrett, do we have time for a couple of more if they're in locked in?
Yeah, let's try John.
John, thanks for your time on 365 Sports. BYU, Baylor now 2-3, 34-28. John, go. John, you there?
We can hear you.
Okay, we can hear John, we can hear you driving, but we can't hear you. I'm not going to even go to the message boards. I posted the link for the post game because I can guarantee you, Garrett, and I'm not going to look at them.
No.
I guarantee you 8 of the first 10 posts, if not 30 of 32 by the end of the afternoon, will be about moving on from head coach Dave Aranda, people mad, blaming Mack Rhodes, blaming administration, blaming everybody, and even blaming the players for the slow start. Why is this team How do you get down 21-0 at home against a nationally ranked team you know is coming in here to take you out? Give BYU credit for setting the tone. But my God, you're down 21-0, 28-7. Craig brought this up when BYU kicked the field goal to lead 31-14 near the end of the first half, right? 54-yard field goal and drilled it. Now, I missed one later that kind of kept the door open. But 54-yard field goal. Drilled it. Baylor gets the ball down. Hankins, who missed that critical field goal last week at Colorado, 51-yard field goal was 5 to 7 yards short. That's what happens. That's what happens. Okay, thanks to Trevon Mai, thanks to Baylor Media Relations with Brent Ingram, Josie Hutton, and also Max Calderon for giving us the opportunity to talk to him. Garrett, thank you. We're back Monday with our show, the afternoon show, 3 to 6. Enjoy the rest of your day if you can. By the way, Kansas State beat Oklahoma State. Kentucky beat Ole Miss when they missed a field goal at the end. Baylor now 2-3, 0-2 in the conference, loses to BYU at home 34-28. For Garrett Ross, for our sponsors, thank you for watching. And those of you who got in, good night or afternoon. 365 Sports, I'm David Smoak.